two more chapters, chapters 17 and chapters 18. We left Alfie. He was running from the school. He was running from Winnie. He was trying to escape seeing the dentist. He thought he had an escape. He found a little shop and someone called him in and he thought he was being saved, and he saw the pointy finger and he saw this figure right here. But I don't think this is where Alfie wanted to run to. Chapter 17, Come to Mummy. Without Alfie even touching the handle, the door shut slowly and firmly behind him. There was the sound of a key being turned. Somehow he was locked in. How splendid! 2 p.m. precisely. You were right on time for your appointment. Come on in. Miss Root's voice had a hypnotic quality to it. As much as Alfie knew in his mind he should run away, his legs propelled him forward. He was moving slowly and surely toward her. Come to Mummy, she whispered. As he drew closer, he could see the source of the bright light was a vast big lamp. Now Alfie was standing in her shadow. He could make out Miss Root more clearly. Looking up at her, the first thing he noticed were her huge, gleaming white teeth, as big as ivory keys on a grand piano. Next, he noticed her eyes, those black eyes. Those eyes so black that it seemed if you gazed into them too deeply, you would see your own death. Then Alfie could feel his body gliding over to the dentist's chair. It looked ancient, like an antique. Don't worry, young Alfie. Mummy promises to be gentle with you. As Alfie found himself sitting on the chair, it tilted back into position. He glanced down to one side. There was her trolley again, this time crowded with a staggering array of dental tools. Many were rusted with old blackened wooden handles. Some had flecks of blood encrusted on them. They looked more like things you would find in a museum of medieval torture than a modern dental surgery. There were ones with short spikes and ones with long spikes. There were chisels, hammers, pliers, one that looked like a giant corkscrew, even a baby hacksaw. Stretched out at the end of the line, taking pride of place, was a huge drill. Not one of these tools looked designed to relieve pain. They all looked like they would cause it, in heart-stoppingly, eye-wateringly, bum-clenchingly measure. Alfie's eyes darted around the room. The surgery was quite bare. A dental certificate took pride of place on the wall, but the paper and the writing looked like they could be hundreds of years old. Pristine medicine cabinets lined the surgery, most holding tubes of Miss Root's highly toxic toothpaste. In the corner of the room was a long, shiny gray metal cylinder, no doubt containing nitrous oxide or laughing gas, often used by dentists on their patients to take away the pain. Curiously, on the dial was what looked like a speedometer. It read, slow, medium, fast, very fast, really too fast. Oh my word, make this thing stop now fast. Here's what he's talking about. This is a cylinder of the laughing gas in the different settings. The surgery windows were all painted black, so no one could see in or out. Hiss! Alfie was startled, then looked down to see that a silky white cat had snaked into the surgery room. It hissed at the boy's direction, its back arched and tail up, pink padded feet pitter-pattered in the room. Oh, don't mind Fang. She's just being friendly. Now relax, child. Let Mommy take good care of you, incanted the dentist. Miss Root pulled a lever somewhere behind the headrest of the reclining chair. In an instant, metal cuffs emerged, holding Alfie's hands and feet in place. Don't you worry, child. These are just for your own safety, so you don't lash out. Smiling, Miss Root dressed her hands in latex gloves. She took her time, enjoying the ritual of smoothing the glove over each long, thin finger. Next, she picked up some notes from a blood-stained cardboard folder. Now, Alfie, I see your last visit to the dentist was 6 long years ago. Miss Root put the folder back down and pulled the lamp close to the boy's face. It was so hot it felt like fire. Open wide. There's a good boy. The dentist's eyes were now staring deep into Alfie's. As much as he wanted to cry out, he couldn't. Resistance was futile. Those black eyes of hers were spellbinding, as if they had him in a trance. With his mouth dry with fear, the dentist's latex glove squeaked as she traced her index fingers over the tops of his teeth. Now Alfie could feel Miss Root's cold breath on his face. As she leaned closer to peer into his mouth, tartar, decay, plaque, gum disease, heavenly, absolutely heavenly. Alfie heard the ancient instruments clank as one was selected. Now, Mummy's just going to check for any cavities, she continued. Miss Root picked out a particularly evil-looking instrument. It was more like a spear than a dentist's implement, with a series of sharp prongs, each one wider than the next. It looked like it was designed to create immense pain as it entered the tooth and even more coming out. Don't worry, Alfie. You won't feel a thing, sing-songed Miss Root. She guided the tool inside his trembling mouth before plunging it into a tooth. Lots of lovely decay in this tooth. Oh, what a find you are. Slowly, the dentist pulled the instrument out of the boy's tooth, twisting it sharply as she did so. Inside his head, he screamed with pain, but no sound came out of his mouth. Clink, clink. The tool was put back down on the trolley. Clink, clink. A new one was selected. Now it was the turn of the pliers to assist in the torture. Their metal jaws impossibly sharp and jagged. Now hold still, Alfie, whispered Miss Root. As she steered the pliers slowly into his mouth, the jaws locked onto a tooth. Mummy won't hurt you. She tugged the instrument sharply. Alfie could feel something coming away inside his mouth. Then, through the thick film of tears, he saw the dentist brandish a bloody tooth in front of his eyes. Look at it, she urged. To you, it's just a tooth. To me, it's like a diamond. Its very imperfections make it perfect. It's a beautiful. Then she called out to her white cat. Fang! The animal leaped up from the floor and landed on Alfie's stomach, her sharp claws digging into him. The cat began to lick the tooth clean of the blood that was now dripping down her mistress's waist. Now relax, Alfie, said Miss Root in her jolly tone. Mummy's only just begun. Chapter 18, Gurning Champion. Alfie must have passed out. His eyes were closed. Perhaps this was a dream. He opened his eyes. At first, all he could see were patterns, colors and shapes. After a few moments, Alfie realized he was staring at the ceiling. These colors and shapes were, in fact, sprays of blood. Some looked very fresh, still wet and glistening. Some looked brown and flaky like they had dried there years before. This was no dream. Alfie realized he was still lying on the dentist's antique chair. He must have been lying there quite a while, and his back was hot and clammy with sweat. Behind him, somewhere out of view, he could hear the sing-song voice again. This time it was counting. 18, 19, 20. What do you think she's counting? What was she counting? With each number he heard something small and solid, like a stone being dropped into a metal dish. 21. The final number was spoken with a particularly flourish. Again there was a chinking sound and something hitting metal. 21 what? Thought Alfie. He could feel that there was something different about himself, but he couldn't quite work out what. He started with his toes. He wiggled them. From there he moved up his body. Ankles, check. Knees, check. Hands, check. Elbows, check. Shoulders, check. Neck, check. Then he moved his tongue around his mouth. Somehow it felt much larger now. Smooth, too. Alfie traced his tongue into the deepest corners of his mouth. He could swear he could feel holes. Great big holes that seemed the size of caves. It was then that Alfie realized he had no teeth. The metal cuffs that had been holding his ankles and wrists had retracted back into the seat. The boy leaped up and banged his head on the huge hot lamp that had been hovering over his mouth earlier. Swinging his legs around, he jumped onto the floor. On the trolley sat a dirty old cracked mirror. He grabbed it and held it up to his face. Alfie was sure the dentist was behind him, but she was nowhere to be seen in the mirror's reflection. Opening his mouth slowly, he could see only darkness inside. His gums were bare and swollen. The only future for him now, he found himself thinking, was that of a gurning champion. Gurning is the ancient art of pulling stupid faces. Champion gurners often have no teeth, even have them removed to make their features easier to maneuver. Here's Alfie and what he looks like with his no teeth. Alfie moved his face in front of the mirror. In horror, he discovered that he could easily look like a fish. A man sucking his own nose. An old lady who swallowed a fly. A walnut. A frog purring up like a small. And a puppet. I think he did the faces better than I did. "Woken up now, have we?" said Miss Root brightly. From a corner of the room, she turned to face him with her huge teeth glistening. "What have you done with my teeth?" shouted Alfie. Well, that's what Alfie tried to say. It actually came out like this. "What have you done with my teeth?" "I'm sorry." Alfie tried again. "What have you done with my teeth?" "I'm terribly sorry, child. I didn't understand a word of that. Is something the matter?" "Okay, I'm my yelled the boy. "I'll tell my "I still can't understand a single word you are saying. Would you mind writing it down here for Mummy?" The dentist passed him a pile of appointment cards and a pen. He furiously wrote on one, "What you done with my teeth?" It read. The letters were large and pointed and angry. Miss Root studied it for a while. I think what you are trying to ask Mummy is, what have you done with my teeth?" Alfie was fuming now. He was sure Miss Root knew full well what he meant. This was just another one of her ways to slowly torture him. "What have you done with my teeth?" "Please don't use that tone with Mummy." Alfie was staring the lady right in the eyes now. She held his gaze and glared back. The pupils in her eyes shone black. On second look, they were blacker than coal, blacker than oil, blacker than night, blacker than the blackest black. In short, they were black. "So what have I done with your teeth?" Alfie nodded his head up and down, each nod more enraged than the last. Fang was sat on top of Miss Root's trolley, and now she started hissing in short, sharp bursts as if she was laughing at him. "Not to worry, child. Mommy's kept them safe for you. All the little beauties are in here." With that, she carefully lifted a large metal dish up to Alfie's ear and rattled it gently. The noise made her face light up with joy. Alfie peered inside. There were his teeth, every last one, all sadly piled on top of each other. Admittedly, they didn't look at all healthy. The years of missing dental appointments had taken their toll. They were all stained brown from too many sweets and fizzy drinks. However, did the dentist really need to remove every single one? Alfie finally realized that she had been counting his teeth. A 12-year-old boy is meant to have around 24 teeth, but Alfie had less than that. Mr. Ersweiler, the old dentist who had died mysteriously, took one out all those years ago, and after that, one or two had fallen out. Here's a 12-year-old boy's teeth. You got spinach, you got an ugly booger, or an uneaten booger, another booger saved for later, and fish finger crumb, all right there. Is that what your teeth look like, 12-year-old boys? What are you going to do? Would you mind awfully writing it down again for Mummy? Miss Root gestured once again toward the pad of appointment slips. Once more Alfie scribbled furiously. "What are you going to do?" he wrote. The dentist studied the piece of paper for a moment. Is that a G or a Y? Alfie growled at her. Miss Root read the sentence out loud. "What are you going to do? Mommy's got it right, hasn't she?" Alfie nodded, and Miss Root furrowed her brow and thought, "Well, normally at the end of any appointment I would come out with the normal dentist spiel. Come and see me in another 6 months. Don't forget to floss. Think about investing in an electric toothbrush, blah, blah, blah. But there's no need for you to do any of that, Alfie. You see, you don't have any teeth anymore, and they are never growing back." With that, the dentist guided the poor toothless boy out of the room before adding cheerily, "Good day." And that's where we'll have to stop for today. Here's Miss Root saying goodbye to Alfie. And can you believe that Miss Root took out all of his teeth? What kind of dentist is she? You have to stay tuned for our next 2 chapters to find out what happens next. You won't want to miss it, okay? Peace out.